All right, viewer discretion is advised. And by discretion, it's not because I use the word fuck and shit a lot. It's mainly because take this with a grain of salt. I am borrowing a set of rocker arms for this particular purpose. I am talking about pushrod length, but just realize that I cannot order pushrods based off of this rocker arm. And I didn't think about it till after I made the full video that some people may be under the assumption that you can measure for one rocker arm and then order them and then order your rocker arms. No, no, no. You have to use the rocker arm that you're going to use on the engine. For now, we have loaners, so keep that in mind. And yeah, that's what we ended up with, which is not too shabby. That's literally as good as it gets, and I have tried pushrod length all over the place, so take that with a grain of salt. All right, guys, so just a small video here. This is an RPM intake that I actually sold, and it's actually going to Alaska. A gentleman who bought it wanted the intake ports opened up to big block size, so I'm just literally going to port match you know, the intake pretty much to the gasket. I do have to open up the at least two outer holes and use dowels to locate the gasket on here. And I know it's not like I wouldn't say ideal, but it's not like what you would typically do, because you would usually, what I would do is I would take my gasket, like what I'm going to do here. For this intake, I have to pick up the gaskets. They were custom made to match our heads. I would glue the intake gaskets on two spots on the cylinder head to locate it right on the port. And then I would, and that would be like a light tacky glue, something like child's glue stick, something that you can peel off with a very thin razor blade off each end, right? Like I'm looking at the engine over there, so like just off of the end by the water passage. And then I would do like a dab of RTV like here and like here, and then pop the intake off by cutting the little ends off, or just splitting it, and then scribing the intake, removing the gaskets, and voila, you can go ahead and do your intake porting once you scribed it up, painted it up, whatever you do, die cam it, however you guys want to do that. So something that has to happen this weekend, because I have to have this out before I go on vacation in a couple weeks. Big shout out to JJ. It's been a while since I probably mentioned his name in any of the videos. Everybody's been busy with life. But he actually sent me 2 shift kits. We mentioned transmission work not too long ago, and he said he had some. And he sent me those, and he actually sent me 2 Ford rocker arms from, I believe Comp Cams. I thought it was Crane, but it's Comp. And I'll show you guys what the results are on our engine. And I think I'll explain my theory on why I think this is kind of like an issue, unless I have a different Harlan Sharp rocker arm for maybe like an Edelbrock head, which they're supposed to be different. But I don't know. We'll see. Okay, so I got rid of the 3/8 stem, the 7/16 space 3/8 stem rocker arm stud I had on there to use my old Ford rocker arms, because they didn't have enough lift clearance. JJ had a couple of loaners that he sent me that are backup rocker arms for his setup, and I'm pretty happy with what I'm getting. So this is actually the valve stem pattern I'm getting with my old push rods. This is with a slightly longer push rod, which you could see it almost doesn't have much of a sweep, but you got that weird little spot. I think the rocker arm is moving just a hair. But this one's a little bit wider with what we have, but it's still pretty centered, which I guess if you're going to have a sweep, having it centered is pretty good, because you know you're not rocking the valve around. And pretty happy overall. It's a 1.6 comp rocker arm, and believe it's for a Ford, but it's the same part number for the Oldsmobile, from what JJ told me, but I don't think they make them anymore. But that's the deal there. And I think what's going on is these valves are a lot taller. And so you have to run a taller push rod. So what happens is the push rod's on a bit of an angle. The valve has its own proprietary angle. Even though it's 90 degrees at the deck of the surface, you have the angle of the block as well. So you have to take into consideration that there is two angles that are kind of like in an upside down V, if you will. And the taller they get, of course, at some point they will intersect. And I think what's possibly going on here, if I do have the correct rocker arms and they're not for like an Edelbrock head, then I think what's going on is with the taller valve, the taller push rod, that area, as obviously if you got an angle going this way, an angle going that way, it's going to tighten up the taller you get. So I think that might be what's going on here. And, but it is what it is. Like, this is why you do this stuff. I had a nice set of Harlan Sharp rock arms that I thought were going to work, and that is not the case at all. So, those are already spoken for, because I don't think they're going to work. The Ford rock arm has given us something pretty ideal, and my furnace, of course, would kick on. But this is with my, my old push rods. Not bad. This is with slightly longer, which you can see this it doesn't have much of a sweep, and if I go any longer, it actually gets worse. So that is like the sweet spot, and it's, I'd say, maybe like 1/8 of an inch to maybe 1/4 of an inch longer. I actually have to measure them, but I don't have like anything to measure with down here at the moment. So, but if I compare the push rods, it's pretty much the same thing as the last video, and you guys are going to see it where, let's see, let's lay them up on the edge here. That's the height difference. That's actually almost 1/4 of an inch, I would say, venture to say at least. But that's the length that gave us that pattern, which is it's pretty good. That little spot down there, I'm going to chalk that up to the rocker arm moving slightly, or just the dab of oil that I had on there maybe just kind of oozed when it was pressing out between the roller and the valve stem tip. So there you have it, folks. That's the conclusion on this, and now I have to find a good set of Ford rocker arms to run because the Pro Comps don't have enough lift clearance for me. So I'm going to get some longer push rods, and now we need new rocker arms. So things get complicated here. Now we have to spend money. We can't reuse our old push rods. We can't use any rocker arm that we actually have here, which is kind of like a really fucked up scenario, because I'm always used to having something I can use here, but that's not the case here. But either way, I'll let you guys go. I wanted to follow this up, share, like, subscribe. Again, hot topic with Oldsmobiles, rocker arm geometry, get the proper rocker arms. It's not always the case. I think once you start altering things and getting different heights and whatnot, you're going to run into a couple of unique issues. And I think my last set of valves were like stock height valves, and we almost didn't have lift clearance with the Pro Comp rocker arms that I have. I had to get thinner diameter poly locks, as thin as I could get, so just to have lift clearance at the in the fulcrum area, I guess you'd call it. So yeah, share, like, subscribe, follow me on Instagram as Copper Cutlass. We'll let you guys go.